This is why I'm of the opinion that TikTok's content moderation policies are a joke, and at best, they're enforced unequally and at worst, discriminatorily. I posted two videos earlier today, one with this intro I'm going to show you, and one without it. And I was testing something else. I wanted to see if one would perform better than other, but lo and behold, I ended up testing and finding out something else about the platform.
Actually sourced some pretty powerful chemotherapy medicine from this because she's very good at killing human cells, including human cancer cells.
The natural world is full of plants. For context, that person I stitched a video of was talking about the U plant. That plant contains two chemotherapy drugs, paclitaxel and docetaxel. And in my video, I went in depth talking about these two drugs and how they work. The video without that short intro got a community guidelines violation for misinformation. In either of these videos, I talk about how paclitaxel and docetaxel are mitotic inhibitors and what that means for the cell and what that does for the cell or for cancer. I explain how they work. Basically, what happens is they interfere with microtubule and tubulin depolymerization, and that causes mitotic catastrophe. Basically, the cell can't separate its chromosomes during the last stage of cell division, mitosis, and that is what kills the cancer cells. So the video was labeled as misinformation, and I also received a channel strike on it. So naturally, I appeal it and reach out to TikTok saying, hey, this video is not misinformation. And I provide them articles showing that, this drug is well characterized. The mechanism of action is well known. And this drug has been in use since like the 1990s. Like all of what I'm saying is backed by scientific literature. And then this is how they respond. We understand how important your video is to you. After further review, the video will remain deleted due to a violation of our integrity and authenticity policy, which misinformation is part of that policy if you look at the TikTok guidelines. So let's watch this video together to see what would have constituted a misinformation violation.
Cells.
The natural world is full of plants and animals that can poison you and possibly also cure your cancer. The chemotherapy drugs that Alexis mentioned that can be extracted from you are paclitaxel and docetaxel. And the way they work is by causing mitotic catastrophe. What is mitotic catastrophe? Well, it's when a cell fails to go through the final stage of mitosis where the cells actually split. And so now the cell has two copies of its genome inside the cell. That's really bad for cell stability. So usually what happens is they end up just dying. In my previous video, I talked about chemotherapies and I covered a class of drugs called mitotic inhibitors. And these two drugs fall under that class. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. What these drugs do is they interfere with the cytoskeleton. Yes, cells have skeletons, and they use them for all kinds of different things. So what these drugs do is disrupt how the cells use them. And one of the ways that they use them is to help with splitting the cell when they need to divide. The cancer cell had a problem. You see, it was treated with U-extract, and the compounds in U-extract prevent microtubules and tubulin from depolymerizing. So they just build up inside the cell, and eventually that leads to the cell just exploding. It prevented the cell from segregating its chromosomes and transporting needed nutrients, so the cell just died. Thanks for that video, Alexis. I'm the Mad Bioengineer, signing out.
Actually sourced some.
So you tell me, what about that video was misinformation? And just so you can see that I'm not bullshitting you, let's look up the mechanism of action of these drugs. So let's first start with paclitaxel. Okay, so we're going to the NIH. Right here. Paclitaxel functions by binding of the beta tubulin subunits within microtubules. Again, stabilizes microtubules. So, mitotic spindle formation. By stabilizing microtubules, paclitaxel disrupts the dynamic equilibrium of microtubule assembly and disassembly, a critical process for the formation and functionality of
the mitotic spindle. As a result, the spindle apparatus cannot properly segregate chromosomes during mitosis, i.e., mitotic catastrophe. And let's do the same with docetaxel. Mechanism of action. Second gen chemotherapeutic agent in the taxane family, derivative of paclitaxel, does very similar things. So again, nothing I said was misinformation. This is all backed by science. It's all there in the literature. And it took me, what, a minute to find the answer?